So this right here is a Starlink Mini kit, and we did pay full retail price for this because I didn't see it pretty much going on sale anytime soon, and we needed it for, road trip type purposes. You could argue first world problems, you don't need that, but if you have kids, you could argue you definitely need that. So anyways, this is my first experience with Starlink. I have never touched or used or set up a Starlink. No, take that back. I've used a Starlink system before, but it was already previously set up. This is my first time unboxing one and setting it up pretty much by myself. So let's go ahead and see what's in the box, right? Great. You get a picture that says that's how that goes, that's where that goes, and that's how you set it up. Antenna's kind of built into here. You can scan a QR code to pretty much download the app. I'm just assuming this is what it says, but if they drew it in here, pictures worth thousands of words, so that's how you do it. And then you stick it up at the sky, you use the app to rotate it to get the best signal, right? And then for some reason, if you wanted to install it permanently, I'm assuming that's what this means, you could take it out, put the cord in, put the mount in, install the cord back in, or take it out, put the cord back in, and then you could put the Starlink on a pole, plug it in, point it. So since we're probably not going to be doing this because we're probably going to be using it for mobility purposes, all we really need to do is this and this and this. So what do you get? You obviously get the Starlink dish, and this dish is not that big. It looks like pretty much closer to a square, but not perfectly. Looks like a sheet of paper, and you get a pretty decent cable, which has a barrel port on one end and barrel ports on maybe both ends, right? Some regulatory informational stuff that I guarantee most people will probably not read. A Starlink pole mount, which is probably what that's for, right? And you get a power brick. So, because in the future we're going to be talking about how we can install this more mobility-wise, we'll go ahead and tell you what this power brick says. Model number on this power brick is UTP-231L, and the input is 100 to 240 volts and 1.6 amps between 50 or 60 hertz. The output of this, which is probably going to be the most important part, is 30 volts at about 2 amps. So this thing will put out roughly up to about 60 watts. And just in case you're wondering where this was made, this thing was made in Vietnam. And this feels like a pretty hefty power brick, definitely better built or heavier than the other if you're going to use weight as an indicator of quality, which is not always true, but can be in some cases. So here's a closer look at the brick in case you wanted to see what was on the brick. That's what it is. On the bottom side is where the barrel connector goes. This is the dish. I left the cover still on here just in case I didn't want to get it all scratched up, but you could put it in here. Put the port in there, right? The power cable goes right in there. If you wanted to know what this is, it looks like it's another port. If I had to guess, it's probably for the Ethernet port. So if you look right there, that's for the Ethernet port in case you needed to plug an Ethernet plug in, and it looks like these little fins here actually make it a waterproofing housing. Just in case you didn't know, this thing is designed to be outside and is weatherproof, and that's how they get that IP rating, IP65 or whatever it may be. And it says this is Starlink. We'll carry out the serial number there just a little bit, and it is made in the US of A. So made in USA, that's a huge plus because I know a lot of people like to prefer made in USA. We'll go ahead and take this off. It's a little guide right here thing that says Starlink icon on it, probably to reduce this getting a little bit scratched up by boxes or whatever, I guess. But let's go ahead and take a look at how big this thing is, right? So if you want to look at it this way, you're getting roughly about 10 and what is that? About 3/16 one way, and then about 11 and 3/4 that way. So 10 and 3/16 by maybe 11 and 1/4. It's maybe just a hair, maybe just a little bit bigger than a standard sheet of A4 paper. Let's go ahead and take a look at this power cable. And this power cable, it says power cable to the Starlink. If you wanted to unbox it in some nice type of way, you could do that. But we're not going to do that because I doubt that we'll ever need to fold this back in again, right? So let's go ahead and take that out. It does come with a little nice Velcro cable tie in case you needed to reuse it, or a Velcro cable organizer, which I know some people have used. But it's like this, right? It's the same barrel on both ends, looks like, right? And it has the two waterproofing little gasket seals right there, so that you can plug one side in to this, which obviously this shouldn't be plugged in unless it wasn't some like waterproof housing or something like that. But this side would plug into the Starlink, right? So the idea basically goes, you want to go plug this in. You want to go ahead and plug this in here, right? That in there. Probably should do that a little better. And then you sit this on the ground like this and point it at the sky, right? So we're going to have to go ahead outside and plug this in and see how that goes. And I forgot, just in case, if you're wondering, how are you supposed to use this if all you have is a power brick and the Starlink, right? So the Starlink Mini is different than the Starlink Gen 3, which is the current one, and also the Gen 2 and the Gen 1, because this will communicate to the satellites that are in low orbit, and the Wi-Fi router is built into here. Right, so I believe they built a Wi-Fi 5 router into here, which is not a big problem. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not Wi-Fi 6, but the speeds that you're going to be getting from this to the low orbit satellites is pretty much not going to be at Wi-Fi 6 speeds. So not having Wi-Fi 6 built into the all-in-one unit here is not a huge deal, right? So if you're wondering what all that stuff really means, so if you had like Comcast or AT&T, whatever, you would probably get like a modem, and then you could get like a router, right? A lot of people have a modem router gateway thing built in, and they'll disable that and put their own, router in there. But sometimes you have those devices from either AT&T or Comcast that's pretty much one unit that plugs in your coax, your whatever it is, and it's all in one. That's pretty much what this is. You can, pretty much put your own router in here, in this port right here, as you can, with most ISP providers around here these days, like Comcast and AT&T and stuff like that. But for simplicity's sake, if you're using this, roaming or moving or any of that stuff, the idea for it is to be simple, right? So if you have to add in another router, some other cables and more cables and power and stuff like that, it's getting complicated. So the basic idea is point and play, or point and use, play, keep it simple, use it. All right, guys, so we're out here. We just plugged in the Starlink, and just for a good line of sight and setting up, we pointed it right at the sky, right up there. See, clear view of sky. Those trees you see in the background right there are nowhere near in the line of sight for this. So as you can see here, we should get a clean line of sight. Right now, it is actually doing a software download on the Starlink app. So as soon as you get it, plugged in, it'll say it's turned online, and then it'll start downloading a software update. We're currently at about 79%. Have it plugged in right now on top of the car, but plugged into this Jackery Explorer. I don't know if it's a 240 or 200 or something like that. It's technically using AC out, which is not as efficient because we're going from DC battery to AC to here, but we're going to fix that sometime later in a different video. But as you can see right now, this thing is drawing roughly about 25 watts. Okay, 25 watts doing the software update as it is communicating the Starlink to its low level orbit satellite. It's definitely been a minute. I'm saying that facetiously, and we're right around 98% here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what happens after we successfully update the software. Looks like after it downloads, it automatically applies. And just so you know, I did not hit the software update button. It just automatically started doing that as soon as it came online. It says ready to update. Let's go ahead and hit the install now button, and it says it's about to reboot. It'll be unavailable for a few minutes as it reboots. It's calibrating and trying to figure out what obstructions are in the way, and it'll take about an hour, so that's fine. We'll let that go as it is. We did align it to be best aligned according to the instructions. So that's fine. Let's see what else is there. Let's do a speed test on the Starlink app speed test. All right, so it looks like we got about 15.1 down and 7.7 megabits up, 32 milliseconds of latency. Latency is not too bad from what you'd expect from a low orbit satellite, especially compared to some of the stuff you can get around here. Let's just run it again, see what happens here. Now we're getting closer to about 34, 20, 18. We're coming back down. Oh man, so we'll let it stabilize for a little bit, see if it gets any better after it stabilizes, and then we can get you better metrics. All right, so immediately, if you think about it, in order time from just getting it out of the box, plugging it in, starting it up, it hasn't even been 20 minutes. So you can get this thing out of the box, plugged in, fresh, configured, and started in less than 20 minutes from no internet to about 12.5 megabits down and 2.5 up. That's astonishing, considering if you would be in the middle of nowhere, that would be amazing, right? So let's go ahead here and let's take the UCA speed test. So let's go ahead and find the UCA. Go ahead here, hit the go. Let's see how well this works using a third-party speed test. Third-party speed test says we're getting about 50, 70, 72, 65, 66. Wow, that's pretty good. Considering we're beaming and exchanging data pretty much from the ground to a satellite in space. This is amazing how far technology has come today. All right, so we got 65, 64, and 18. Let's see what happens when we test it again. Let's hit it one more time for good sake and measure, right? Wow, look at that. Now we're able to get to 120, 100. Oh, wow. Sorry, there was a big gust of wind there. Some acorns flew off the tree. Now we're talking about 90 down, 8, 7, 6, 4 up. It may get better as it stabilizes like we just mentioned. So we'll come back in about, let's just say 30 minutes. So run it again, see if it gets any better or worse. So just here, let's go back through the app, see what else you got here. You can get statistics. You know, it takes about 15 minutes to stabilize. The latency, throughput, power draw, it's about 19. So that's interesting because you can get power draw metrics inside the app, how much your Starlink is drawing power, right? Look at that. Within from 5 to here, about now, which has been maybe about 8 minutes or so, 9 minutes, we've got about 20 watts on average. We had about 2 outages. That was probably me from just, having it upside down, plugged in and stuff like that as we've been going around. But other than that, look at that. You got alignment, obstruction, speed test. You can change your settings. Looks like you can set your custom DNS if you had that type of thing. You can also bypass mode to use a third-party router if you wanted to do that. That may kind of defeat the purpose of Starlink Mini, but you could do that if you wanted to. You can also factory reset it. Yeah, we're not going to do any of that. Here's support. You can do billing, account service options, and you can also just give it feedback, and it'll also obviously tell you the version of the OS looks like it's on. So let's go back. But other than that, everything you need is really on here, and you can get going, considering we've got pretty much broadband speeds in a matter of minutes from taking it outside the box without having to plug in or contact internet service provider or anybody in order to configure or get it going. That's amazing. So I hope this video helped you guys out, and if you have any questions, let us know. We'll go ahead and test this in remote camping sites and stuff like that as soon as time starts coming up. But other than that, have a great day, get back to work, and we'll see you guys next time.